En las madrugadas frescas de Colombia, no hay nada más rico que una taza de café llena de coffee con un cigarro. No es por ti, amigo. Por solo $89, registrate a laurowithcrowder.com/moodclub, hermano.
It's too hot to do the sip, but then I was told to do the sip. And Alex Jones was in my chair yesterday, and now I just blew out my own eardrums. It's my own fault.
It is a little bit.
I warned you.
But the thing that's crazy, though, is why would Alex Jones have the headphones for his own feedback louder?
Because he only has it in one ear, so I guess that.
Oh, that's right. It is the earpiece.
Deaf in one ear.
I just can't imagine. Hold on, guys. Sorry, I'm doing a live test. Be like, we're going to be talking about the New York City subway chokeout, Bud Light sales, and the pedophile cabal. Yeah, that's way too much in my ears.
Too much. Alex.
I don't know why he would do that.
Loud noises!
Glad to be with you today. Look, this is going to be one of those shows where we want to give you the ins and outs of. Do you hear the squeak? He readjusted my chair, Alex. Son of a. Everything is
off the top.
He was off the top. I apologize. No. Let's do it again.
We'll do it live.
Okay. It's going to the bird. We want to give you the ins and outs because, of course, the media is trying to portray what happened yesterday in the New York City subway as a lynching. There's a lot of misinformation out there on both the left and the right. I think you need to know all of the ins and outs, and I also think you need to know how this affects you. We talked about this not more than 2 weeks ago where we did the Dirty Harry and Death Wish segment where we said, look, and by the way, let me be clear, not to say that this is vigilantism, but we said, look, you are going to create more conflict and people are going to start taking more drastic measures. Not that that was necessarily what took place here, but people do feel the need in the absence of police officers, in the presence of crime that is irrefutable to defend themselves, to protect their loved ones, to protect the helpless. You've been told that the helpless is the man who was choked out. When someone dies and it didn't have to happen, it's always a tragedy, to be clear. But you don't need to ruin someone else's life based on a lie. And that's what we're talking about today. Yes, there can be a tragedy, a life lost. You can mourn it, and you don't have to destroy someone else's life. Just like they did with Mike Brown, hands up, don't shoot, wasn't true, Darren Wilson. That man, in the realm of police officers, was basically a saint, and you never hear his name again. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about Bud Light and their sales. Those are down. And Florida has banned pronouns, which people think is extreme, but it's entirely reasonable. Just ask South Korea. So let me ask you, before we get to that, first off, is your boycott of Bud Light permanent? That's the question of the day. Will you ever drink another one again? Nope. By the way, that includes Michelob and all Anheuser-Busch products, InBev.
No thanks. No.
And how's your city doing? How's your city doing? You feel safer? And what do you think about this scenario? There are going to be a lot of points of discussion today. Yeah. It's going to be kind of a concept episode. Number 2 in command, CEO Gerald A. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
That was you know what? I can tell you took a Benadryl last night.
I did. I had an allergy attack last night at like 8, and I'm like, crap, and I'm just dead to the world, and I was like, I got to take a Benadryl.
The problem is it doesn't count as an allergy attack if it's from the sulfites of the bottles of wine that you consumed.
A bottle.
Yeah, it's a self-induced allergy attack. And then when you hear this, you know it's because he's too sexy for his everything.
Oh.
You can go see him at the Comedy Zone in Port Charlotte, Florida this weekend, May 5th and 6th, and all of his other dates at bryancallen.com. May 5th and 6th. Bryan Callen, how are you, sir?
I'm just a man. I don't eat bread, guys. And that's the most important thing if you're wondering why my skin is so tight on my face. It's because I take no prisoners, okay? My belly's tight. My arms are heavy.
Did everyone just decide that the hello on this show, like Alex Jones and Brent, have a meeting behind my back where it's like they're just going to go on?
Is everybody punking you right now?
I'm just saying. I'm just stating the obvious. People are going, "What's going on with that guy? Does he do sports all day?"
It's like,
That's
yes.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Okay, I see it, and I think you recover all day because that's what's important.
Thank you for
Recovery.
that. Thank you for understanding
Active
me.
recovery.
Thank you for
Active
just
recovery.
one blood tear.
Yes. And by the way, to everyone out there, if you signed up prior to May to any mainstream conservative streaming service that exists, right? We know that you may have signed up for Mug Club. We cannot reach you. We know that some of you didn't get mugs. Just send your proof to freemugclub@louderwithcreditor.com. We will give you 3 months free. If you're a member of anywhere else, you don't have to cancel anything anywhere else. Just get it for 3 months for free.
Within that last year. And by the way, in about a week, we'll be sending out emails with the code for you guys to be able to get on at the very least. So you start to see it roll out. So if it takes about 5 days.
Yeah, you need to check your inbox. You have to. I know sometimes we're like, what do I have? I have to click. It burns. Just check your inbox and you get the code for 3 months free.
I mean, come on.
All right. Before we go on to everything else, here's a girl who is talking about this is the state of modern relationships. See if you can spot one of the problems.
Guess who made an
Why does she whisper the part that's
to be
public?
super transparent with
she
you,
lives with her
I've made
parents.
almost $100 in my first 24 hours. So when I posted that I started one yesterday, like the number one question I got was, "You still with your man?" I am still happily with my boyfriend. He is super supportive of what I'm doing, and you know, it's a business basically. So
No, we don't. No, we don't know.
Don't know.
Pimping ain't easy.
We don't know.
Right. Unless he's a pimp
Yes.
and he wants to play video games and make her work all day.
Yeah,
from
for the
home.
$100
from
a
home.
day.
$100. Now I can take
By the
that
way-
vacation and buy that stamp.
Yes.
Under 40 grand a year.
Maybe my OnlyFans pimp can now get that iron glove.
$100 a day, I can finally get that operation.
Well, here's the thing. Almost $100 a day.
Almost.
OnlyFans come with a good 401k and health insurance.
Yeah.
Dear God, I hope there's dental.
I hope he breaks up with her and says it's cheaper to pay $8.99 to watch you than take you out to dinner.
Got him.
Well done, Joe.
It's a Dear John OnlyFans sign up.
It is.
I don't know. You guys can comment below. Would you be okay with OnlyFans? You get it. All right. By the way, it's a live show Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow we have a show, of course. I don't know if we're doing a scrapyard show or a theology show. It's a
We
mix.
got a lot of stuff in the hopper.
We have Chat Thursday. We're really going to be talking about the New York subway chokehold, chokeout. Now they're trying to label it lynching, right? They're trying to give it a hashtag. There's so much misinformation out there, and the thing is, I've talked about this. The fake victim culture, it creates real victims, and sometimes you have someone who can be a victim, though sometimes it's a victim of circumstance, not necessarily somebody who's a victim of a crime at the hands of another person. And you can destroy another life. Let's try and be mindful of that as we navigate the story. Speaking of destroyed Bud Light sales. So remember, they plumped up the stock price to say it's not that bad, guys. Bud Light sales, as far as in-store sales, so we don't even have the actual sales from what I understand as far as all of like the actual bars on tap.
Well, those are down massive.
Yeah, those are down massively, but we can't. But it's at least 26%.
Yeah.
In the final week of April, 26% down. Of course, that's because they decided to have one of their spokesmen, Dylan Mulvaney. It turns out they would have been better off using Dylan Roof. And then, jeez,
Steven, seriously. Sorry.
Yes.
Somebody has to be
Yes.
pushing back here.
Wait, what?
Nothing. What was I saying?
You thought it? Yes,
Sorry.
seriously.
But you're probably
Dylan Roof
right.
would have moved more Bud Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pause.
But here's the thing. In a
Pause.
recent interview, Alyssa Heinerscheid, remember the Bud Light former VP of marketing, she explained why she thought that using Dylan Mulvaney was a good choice, just to be clear. So we have to give her side of the story. Yeah. She actually concluded the interview by telling the reporter to pull up to the second window and get his quarter-pounder meal. So that is,
There it is. There it is.
you can take your skill set with you.
With you. With you.
So even the left is acknowledging that Bud Light is having problems, right? New York Times, CNN, but they're arguing that it's because they should have stuck by Dylan Mulvaney.
What?
This is the thing. They can't admit it. Like, look, you're winning, okay?
I didn't even see that.
And they're trying to say, no, hold on a second. It's because... into account that it's because Bud Light is primarily constituted from bum piss. So that doesn't help it. But Dylan Mulvaney, and what am I hearing?
What is that? What's going on?
What is it?
Hey, what is that?
What is it? To a man.
I think we're filming a new spot outside.
Oh, really?
Von Valdez?
Yeah.
They're out there?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Aquí en las montañas colombianas, después de un día largo de trabajo, nada es más rico que una taza de café. Y un vape. Sí, me gusta.
I don't know why we got him on contract, and I don't know why he's in Studio B. All right.
His mustache makes me thirsty.
Doesn't cost that much.
That's not a natural reaction
I know.
on any level.
I have an issue.
Nothing about that is healthy.
Are you okay, Brian?
No, it's fine. It's just so thick. Did somebody order broom service?
Hey,
Oh,
I don't like it.
All right.
Now-
Sorry, just a play on words, guys. It's a play on words.
no, I got that part.
Dylan Roof and that mustache comment is where I draw the line.
Yeah, I get it. No, I understand. Where I draw the line is killing people.
Yes.
Well, you know.
Right.
Yes.
But here's the thing. There's a difference between killing people and trying to protect yourself or trying
And
to
others.
subdue somebody, trying to protect others, and there being involuntary manslaughter, which is what it looks like is going to be the case with this New York City subway chokehold, the story everyone is talking about right now. And by the way, you can hit the Rumble button, hit like if you're watching on YouTube, because they are very effective in making sure that you see one side. Not Rumble, YouTube. So let's just kind of walk through first. You've probably heard a lot of claims, right, about this. And let me disabuse you, as Ron DeSantis would say, those notions. You've probably heard that this was just a claim. For example, homeless man was just murdered. Another claim that the crime was racially motivated. That the victim was just a fun-loving Michael Jackson impersonator who needed food. That there was a white supremacist Marine who was just going out lynching people. Like it's a new sort of Bernie Getz situation, which, by the way, is not even what you understand that to be. There are a lot of myths out there. And again, the problem is these, well, some are half-truths, some are outright distortions and lies will create an entire second wave of actual victims. You understand that words can destroy lives. And we've seen it happen before, and the truth really does matter here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not really seeing the truth right now because people are running quickly to the lynching thing. That's what they're trying to make this. Remember the hands up, don't shoot, the slogans that people come up with to kind of promote this stuff? You watch later on today, that maybe will have gained enough traction. It's the New York City subway lynching that you'll hear.
That's what you're going to hear.
Yeah.
No mention of the fact that there was a black guy involved in subduing it as well.
Of course. Yeah, and we'll get to that.
Well, I guess there were a lot of black-on-black lynchings.
Well, it's a more niche thing.
Yeah,
I
it's a
guess,
niche
but-
thing. Just, someone always has to be different. Let's go through some of these. And you've been following this, Brian. Everyone has. This is everywhere right now. I mean, CNN right now is saying a partial verdict reached in the Proud Boys seditious conspiracy trial. I don't really know that.
Partial verdict.
You guys can let us know if there's an update there. I really want to spend some time on this. So, if you have children, we've always said this. This is not a trigger warning. It's a PG-13 warning.
Yeah.
We need to be able to address this accurately. And the clip we're about to show is not the clip of the man dying, just to be clear, but the clip of the lead up of some of the incident and what was taking place with the chokehold. So do we need to hit the fest? This is fact. This is a fact number 4 that you need to know about here. 4 kind of key facts. Warning: if you have children, please take them out of the room. All right, let's show the clip. Okay. So there's a lot wrong there. Here's the thing. This is something people also need to understand. That's a guy. What's the name of the Marine? The Marine? Can someone give me the name of the...
I don't know that they had the name of the Marine.
We don't know that we have the name of the Marine. We have the name of the man who died, Jordan Neely.
Maybe down further if we
Okay.
have, so
he's holding him incorrectly, to be clear, right? A chokehold is not a hold, is not a restraint hold. This is not a guy who is trained in performing these very clearly. We did a segment where we choked out one of our producers here, choked unconscious. It takes place in about 3 seconds. You don't need to hold it any longer.
Right.
This is probably a guy who was trying to restrain somebody. He's not applying it. He's just trying to hold someone down and get some help because the police never showed up, just to be clear. The response time is not very good in New York City right now. The crime on subways have reached a 25-year high. We're going to go through all of that. But just to be clear, sure, someone may not know how to restrain somebody. Before we judge them, do you? Would you? Now, here's what's important. The 30-year-old Jordan Neely, according to some eyewitnesses, barged onto the train, started yelling at riders. This is from the New York Post. He said he had no food, he had no drink, that he was tired, he doesn't care if he goes to jail. He started screaming, he took off his jacket, threw it on the ground. Apparently also, according to the New York Times, said he was ready to die. And this 24-year-old man, I guess we don't have the name of the Marine.
I don't think he's been identified yet, and that's probably a good thing.
That is a very good thing.
Yeah. The police know who he is, so that's fine, but not the public yet.
He subdued Neely and put him in a crappy version of a chokehold that he held way too long.
That's when I knew I had problems, because I was watching it and I said two thoughts. I went, number one, he makes a blonde mustache work. Weird thing to say. I know.
It's not healthy, but it is correct.
And also, I said, you're not grabbing your own bicep there, and that's not a great
That's a guy who's probably watched the UFC a couple of times.
Yeah, and that's not fair of me either. So there are larger issues at hand.
No, but here's the important issue is, first off, we need better police training, and also just so keep this in mind when people say, oh, Marines can kill you. No, they're not trained in subduing people. Just to be clear, just because someone is a Marine, they don't know how to subdue someone. Typically, a restraint hold, a submission hold would actually make someone uncomfortable. In other words, you would put them in some kind of position where if they tried to move out of it, it would be painful, and so they wouldn't. So there's an incentive to be held there. Right. Chokehold doesn't hurt. Chokehold, you go to sleep, and it happens preemptively. Just to be clear, you need to know this. We've talked about it before. You go to sleep preemptively because your brain is putting itself in low power mode to protect the lack of oxygen going to the brain. Then if you hold it for another 30, 45 seconds, a minute, that's when brain damage or death can occur. This is someone who did not know what they were doing.
Yeah, and so just before that, so we showed you just a snippet of the clip. He was laying on top of the guy, right? So he had him in that chokehold, and he's not really on his side like we saw him, and the guy was breathing very easily. You could see his chest going up and down. There was not a lot of panic. They were just trying to hold him to keep his arms from flailing, his feet. Like, there were 3 people involved in this thing.
Yeah.
So that guy wasn't restricting oxygen to him.
Well, we don't know, right? We don't know what was in his system. We don't know if his heart stopped because he was taking drugs before that. We know that he behaved in a very erratic way.
Hold on, that doesn't apparently matter, because we've had other cases where that came up. I can't.
And we do know that this man has a history of egregious violence.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
If you say I'm ready to die and you throw your jacket off, the alternative is doing nothing, and he pulls out a knife and cuts a bunch of people
and
up.
that's true, but the violent behavior, this is an unconfirmed report, so that there are people out there right now saying, hey, this guy was shoving people. I was one of these people. Before getting on that train, right? So shoving.
We don't know yet. We don't know much yet.
It's unconfirmed. What we do have confirmed, we'll get to, is his criminal record. Yeah. We do have that confirmed.
Yes,
of Jordan Neely.
He's got an extensive criminal record.
Yes, an extensive criminal record, including felony assault.
Well, there you go.
So we'll get into that, and again, that means grievous bodily injury, along with all kinds of other violent crimes.
But
so this matters.
That's because he was hungry.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Unhoused. Yeah.
Because all homeless. Here's the thing, too. By the way, you know who else has been homeless at one point? Kind of myself. And by that I mean I slept out of my Datsun and couch surfed for a few nights, and I used to shower at the 24-hour fitness where I could get a 1-month pass, and then I got a 1-month pass to Gold.
Did some private dancing.
I milked the system, man.
That's what you did.
You get a gym free pass. You sleep out of your car. Never once did I. I mean, I ate baby food. I would eat scraps at hotels.
You wore a wig?
At one point, yes, I did wear a wig. You had a feather duster. Never once did I consider attacking someone on the bus line.
Canadian made for
because
hire.
I didn't have a home. There are lots of homeless people who don't hurt people. Just to be clear, that is not an excuse. Right. Sure, it's a tough situation. But you know what? That does a gross disservice to other people out there who find themselves down and out, and they don't choose to harm their fellow citizens. Not saying that happened here, but Jordan Neely has done it for a very, very long time. A couple other fast facts, and Gerald, you can jump in if I'm missing anything. This went on for about 15 minutes.
Yep.
From what I understand, a freelance journalist who was on the scene said he moved his arms, but he couldn't express anything. Talking about Neely, all he could do was move his arms. None of us who were there thought he was in danger of dying.
None of you.
We thought he just passed out or ran out of air. The Marine in question, he was questioned by the police, was later released.
Yeah.
That does matter because the police maybe know some things that you don't at this point. They could be wrong.
Yeah.
But trial by social media is not the same as an actual court of law or questioning them by the police who have access to the entirety of footage.
Yeah.
That should be pretty telling.
And so, by the way, there is a little bit more footage there that shows that the train was stopped, the doors were opened. You can hear, I don't know if somebody said like a police button or push the button. Maybe it's in a case of emergency if you need police to that area. But you could hear like on the loudspeakers, police respond to this area, please. They were just holding this man and subduing him until police arrived.
Right.
Which They said they were holding him for about 15 minutes. That makes the response time abhorrent, especially in the subway system that is known for violent crime.
Let me ask you this. Could you, in an enclosed tube, handle, let's say, a potentially inebriated, a potentially chemically altered man who threw down his jacket, said he was ready to die? Would you be able to handle that man for 15 minutes until the cops show up with full confidence? Genuine question. And by the way, your other alternative, would you just let him run on down the rest of the subway cars with all the women and children there? And we have a montage later that is disturbing to see just how many attacks, 20-something year high, I believe 25-year high in subway attacks. We said this not long ago. We did an entire segment on Dirty Harry and on Death Wish and said, look, this is the exact petri dish for those anti-heroes that came out in the late 60s and the early 70s and were there again. And I'm not saying that this is a vigilante, but what I am saying is this is the precursor to what you will see. You can only lie to people for so long and tell them that they are not experiencing violence until they react to defend themselves and people around them. I'm telling you, this is the start of it. So let's pull it back. Let's make sure we go back to law and order, guys. Let's make sure that law-abiding citizens feel safe and understand that they have the right to protect themselves. In New York City, guess what? You have no cash bail, right? You have no cash bail. You have increased crime and the inability to protect yourself with a firearm. Well, what in the hell do you do? All that? Oh, and the cops don't show up for 15 minutes. In the New York subway, I would have thought they just hang out there because they can end their shift early if they get enough citations.
The other thing is that people, like I have had a lot of experience in New York on subways, and actually have been involved in altercations myself. And one of the things that's amazing,
of course you won.
Well, look, did I use kung fu? Yes.
Oh, yes.
Geez. Was I in the air the whole time? Yes. That's not important. That's because I'm trained.
He kept him busy.
I kept him busy, and when by them I mean a gang.
Yes.
But for the most part, what you see is most people sit on their hands.
Yes.
Most people are not trained. Most people don't rehearse for this in their mind. Most people are terrified. Somebody comes on and acting really erratically, and they're big. Good luck. And it's the rare individual. And most of the time, people don't step up. And that's why you see these attacks that go on somebody innocent, and everybody just sits around and watches.
Right, and people are terrified of it.
Yes.
People are terrified of it.
Yes.
So let's get to
why you should take my Kung Fu workshop. Keep going, Steve.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
sorry. This is not about that, though.
He mainly relies in the monkey fist technique.
Yes.
Baby monkey.
Yes. And bashful killer,
yes.
where I hide behind my hands.
Yeah, it's like drunken boxing, only it's like shy.
And then it's this.
Oh, no.
How'd you know?
I don't know.
Don't give my secrets up, dude.
Sorry.
That's expensive.
I love the move where it's only pay for appetizers. Now,
great.
Here's another fact that you need to know. I think this is, we're at number three. Some key facts. Number 3. The aftermath here, based on completely, at best, inaccurate reporting or incomplete reporting.
Yeah.
At worst, lies. So The Intercept immediately published a headline, because this is responsible, reading, "How to Not Get Arrested After Killing Someone in Public."
Jeez.
The NYPD's treatment of a white man who strangled Jordan Neely, an unhoused black man, on the subway is not how things usually go down, which also doesn't make sense because you're often telling us that that's how things always go down because of something systemic racism, so it shouldn't surprise you. Oh, wait, that tells you this is out of the norm. This is a situation with extenuating circumstances. And by the way, again, we cannot reiterate enough, just because the left wants to turn this into a race thing, it's like Charles Manson wanting to start a race war. One of the men holding down Neely was black.
Oh, but he wasn't black enough.
No, he wasn't black
Apparently.
enough. I don't know. He could be Bangladeshi. I have no idea from that
looks
still.
like
But the point is there's some pigment.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? When did we go to unhoused and why?
Right.
Wasn't it just homeless?
In Portland,
you're
an unhoused camper or an unhoused neighbor.
I'm just offended by the fact that we're going. Why are we changing the term? Is it because homelessness has a stereotype to it that you don't have a home?
Yes.
It's descriptive.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
What are we trying to do here?
Because the left believes if you just change the wording, it helps.
Makes it all better.
So
it's not even accurate. Half of them are unapartmented.
Well, that's true, too, because they can't afford. Thank you for being more specific. But the one thing that helps when a wretch is on the street and has no access to their mental faculties and nowhere to live, and they're living in their own filth, at least when you change how you address them to another white person, it makes their life
Yes,
better.
it does.
Yes.
It does. Specifically, if you say no longer with co-op. And they're like, that's better. That's better.
Yeah,
Way
exactly.
better.
It's like the Apostle Paul passing.
I mean, his thing's a little less. What are you pointing to? I thought you were pointing to CNN.
And changing people's
just saying
pronouns
something.
ensures
That's okay.
that we'll lower the suicide rate.
Yeah,
Yes, of
exactly.
course.
Also, by the way, the journalist who was filming the video, Hispanic. So you've got a black man assisting in restraining this man, a Hispanic person filming the video. You have a Hispanic person saying no one actually thought this guy was being killed. He just looked like he was being restrained. And then the left already is trying to not frame it, they're declaring it murder. Here's another New York Times deceptive subheading. Okay, it says, on Wednesday, the medical examiner's office said the cause of death was compression on the neck and ruled it a homicide. Look, there's a huge difference between homicide, involuntary. There's a huge difference between homicide and kill. Yeah. Murder and kill. These don't mean the same thing. They don't mean the same thing, which, by the way, brings us back. Edgy atheists to say, if I need a God to tell me not to kill. Hold on a second. There are plenty of societies that actually allow killing and there's no consequence. Murder is different. Why do we recognize the difference of homicide, murder, first degree, second degree, manslaughter? Well, you may not like it, but because people who created this country believed in biblical law, believed in natural law and natural rights. And this is maybe why the New York Times doesn't understand it. It's not just semantics. There's a huge difference between homicide and accidental death, which seems most likely is the case. I have to choose my words carefully because we don't know. But why aren't you?
Well, and there's.
But you have to use the word objective law too, Steve.
Right. Yes.
The objective law is a super important thing, not subjective law. Even though it becomes subjective, but for the most part, we start that way.
Yes.
You know, with the idea. Let me see all the evidence first.
Yes.
Due process.
Absolutely.
Well, and we'll see somebody talk about that here in just a second. But there's also, like, when people hear the word homicide, they think murder. It's almost the equivalent in their mind.
Right.
But there is justifiable homicide.
Oh,
yes.
As well, right? So you have to understand that this is basically
I'd have a case against you with that 9 times a day.
I know, most of the time. This is basically saying that this wasn't an accident where he fell off a building and died, right? Or, negligent homicide is also a term, right? Where you can kind of say, okay, well, your negligence contributed to this. This doesn't mean that this person was murdered. And
No, it does not.
And that's what they're going for.
And all of the evidence we have, meaning the people who were actually there, meaning the cops who reviewed the footage, meaning what we know right now would point to it not being murder. Which, again, I used to say don't attribute to malice what you can attribute to incompetence. And with our next person we're discussing, AOC, there's tons of incompetence, so I understand the temptation, but I attribute to malice. AOC chimed in, Miss Googly herself, saying Jordan Neely was murdered.
Period.
By the way, I hope, hey, comment below, hit like, hope that broad gets Nick Sandmaned.
Yes.
I hope that she gets sued.
she should.
That is a declaration, was murdered. If it is not murder, you need to be held liable. Because you know what? You're supposed to be representative of the people who elect you. And if a jury of this man's peers say it's not murder, guess what? Hope you get fitted for a googly orange jumpsuit, bitch. They're going to put you next to Kermit the Frog, whatever it is in the lineup, so they ID you. It's going to be really, really clear, just as long as it's googly eyes. And maybe it'll be you in the craft section at Michael's, and people have to pick you out and say, that's the one who defamed me. You don't get to call someone a murderer when you're supposed to be a representative of the people and understand due process. This is...
But Stephen, she does clarify. You didn't read the whole tweet.
Okay, sorry. Let me add the context.
Let me hear what else she means. There's got to be context.
Which makes it worse.
Let me listen to this.
You think I'm mad now?
I'm just saying. Maybe she wanted to clarify further. So let me just hear what she had to say.
Okay, and by the way, I have to read all the typos because it's hard to write when I'm sorry, sir, I'm typing my best. So
she's not cross-eyed. That's a bad AOC impersonation.
That is a perfect AOC. Okay, that one's better.
Horses don't have breasts like that.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't know. I'm not an equine therapist. Jordan Neely was murdered.
Okay.
She said. But BC, meaning because. But because Jordan was houseless. So now we have a new term. But because Jordan was houseless and crying for food in a time when the city is raising rents and stripping services to militarize itself while many in power demonize the poor, the murderer gets protected with passive headlines plus no charges. It's disgusting. Let me correct everything that she just said, okay? Because in the city that is raising rents, because in a city that is having people flee in record numbers and is stripping services to militarize itself while many in power demonize the poor, what you really mean is defunding the police and cash bail and a gutless mayor and rising crime, the murderer gets protected with passive headlines and no charges. What you really mean is someone finally decided that they had enough and they were going to defend themselves and the most vulnerable amongst them. Fuck you. Okay, it's disgusting. I agree on that part. Now, Mayor Eric Adams called out AOC's tweet, which kind of surprised me, which means he knows something that you don't. Let's show the Turtles clip himself.
There's also this from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Democratic Congresswoman. She said, Jordan Neely was murdered. What is your response to what they're saying here?
Well, both the Congresswoman and the controller is a citywide leader. And I don't think that's very responsible at the time where we're still investigating the situation. Let's let the DA conduct his investigation with the law enforcement officials. To really interfere with that is not the right thing to do. And I'm going to be responsible and allow them to do their job and allow them to determine exactly what happened here.
That means he had a conversation with the DA, who's no doubt significantly left, and he's going, "This is not the one you want to."
Don't say murder. Don't say murder. Don't say murder.
I guarantee that.
I guarantee.
Because Eric Adams was a cop, right, for a long time. So.
Yeah. And then he came out and he's like,
never made one arrest. Never made one arrest. Yeah.
He never made one?
I don't know.
Really?
I just like to spread rumors.
Very few.
I'm like the right-wing AOC. I'm sorry, guys.
You really are. But look, if
that's the official way of saying, crazy bitch. That's what he's saying.
Exactly. If he's coming out and saying, you notice he didn't really tackle AOC's comment. He went to the comptroller or whatever it was, the controller, saying, well, that's a city official. That means we could get sued.
Yeah.
She's
so dumb.
Say that.
She's just a terrible person.
Yes. That entire response could have been wrapped up. Bitch is dumb. Nice titties, though.
Yeah. I never noticed.
That's what he was saying.
You never noticed.
Because
that's what he was saying.
I look into the
That's what
windows
Mayor Eric Adams was saying. Tell everybody. Bitch is dumb. Nice titties, though.
That was the subtext?
That was the subtext.
I missed those things.
Yeah, I know.
You're so good at reading.
But we need to make sure it's available for the hearing impaired. Here's a fast fact number 2. And I apologize for my anger, but I hope that you also understand Kyle Rittenhouse, we watched it unfold, and he spent a lot of time here. So I know what happens to people's lives when you do this. It's not inconsequential. And AOC knows better. For crying out loud, she was complaining that she wasn't even near a pipe bomb that may or may not have existed, and she was talking about how threatening. You have any idea what's going to happen to this guy who you declare a murderer and turn it into a race war?
Oh yeah, I guarantee you, people right now are trying to dox him.
Yes.
But he's going to make a fortune at gun shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's no chokehold shows.
Yeah, there's no chokehold shows.
Way to make a celebrity of him in Texas.
Yes, there are quite a few in Texas.
Probably owns pit bulls.
Oh.
And has access to a well.
Now you're just going off. There's no reason for this. So.
Sorry, man.
But I accept it.
Okay. Thank you.
This is uncomfortable. It's how we deal. Let's go through this. Who was Jordan Neely? Okay. So, of course, the woke left, they're already making, they're like, kind of like, remember St. Floyd? They're making him into their newest, I guess, patron saint of jerking off on subways. They're venerating him.
Oh, so you want fewer cops?
Yeah. Okay. That's about what I expected.
Define justice.
Just white people dying to be part of something.
Scary to watch
Israel Adesanya doing
there. Engaged with in a violent way.
He's transitioning.
A lot of us are closer to homelessness than we are to being millionaires. And so to see someone be treated like that as a homeless person is scary for people who are unhoused. They're scary for people who are at risk of being homeless, whose rent is overdue, whose rent is being increased, whose shelter is the next step. So it's really, really scary. That is going through a housing crisis to see homeless people being murdered.
Stop calling the cops because someone's asking you for
She's hysterical. You're hysterical. Oh, man, she'd be fun to date.
Every single thing there is victim, 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 race. Yeah. Victim, victim, race. Victim, victim, race. That's all they're doing. As our rent goes up. Oh, okay. Let me ask you this. Remember rent forgiveness? You didn't pay rent for a while. Was there mortgage forgiveness? And I don't want to call these people landlords. I want to call them home providers. How about that? Yeah. Were the home providers absolved? What do you think happens when you don't pay rent for I don't know how many months or years, depending on the state? This is not consequence free. And it's not because you're black. Okay? It's not because you're a victim white woman or that your guess is as good as mine with the necklace there and the Swiffer haircut. I don't know what that was. I don't want to misgender it, but it's weird. It doesn't matter what you look like. The rent's due and you didn't pay it, and that person wasn't forgiven. Now, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and I'm going to get to the criminal record here because I think it matters. I think it's important. Ayanna Pressley tweeted out the video that you all know of Neely as though this is the only relevant portion as just as happy-go-lucky Michael Jackson impersonator. Which, by the way, if you want to, I guess, be imbued with the power of innocence and being blameless, if you're going to pick a celebrity, like you could have gone worse with OJ, but Michael Jackson wouldn't be my first choice. Yeah. Okay.
That's all the footage they have. That's it.
All the footage.
All they have.
That's every move. And it didn't even moonwalk.
Right. I can do that right now. Sorry.
He asked for money.
Let's do it. Let's do it, but in a little bit.
I haven't stretched, but you know what I mean.
Well, you know what? We'll stretch. We'll do it on the Mug Club thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Presley, by the way, also included her own diatribe.
I've watched TikTok. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
I want to hear her. At least
she said black men deserve to grow old.
Huh.
Well, okay.
Okay.
First off, tell that to actuary tables. Like, in other words, black men die younger, and they die younger because of the bullshit that you guys spew. You know, big and beautiful is healthy. No, it's not. There's an obesity problem, right? There are heart problems in the black community. You actually encourage them to be dependent on government programs, EBT, welfare. The black life expectancy is less in this country, and you want to say it's food deserts. Hey, let me ask you this. What do you think? By the way, food desert is bullshit nowadays. You can order anything online. I just ordered a 12-pack of sardines for Joe Louis. It cost me a third of the price as it would go into Sprouts. But my point is, what do you think creates food deserts? Hey, you have to give them free shit. But hold on a second, I own this store. Hey, you have to let them shoplift. Really? All of it? Only if it's under $999. I'm taking my business elsewhere. Food desert! So black men deserve to grow old, not be lynched on a subway because they were having a mental health crisis. I don't know if you know this. Sometimes mental health crisis results in the massacres of people.
Correct.
They do. Yes.
Yeah.
Prolonged mental health crises.
Yes, because Neely, this doesn't mean that Neely should have died, that deserved to die.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. But the idea that it was just a white man lynching a black man as opposed to a white man, a black man, and a Hispanic man trying to subdue a crazy, violent, routine felon is dishonest. Neely had been arrested. Take a guess. What would be enough? Okay.
5.
10 times.
What would be enough for it to be relevant? In other words, let's say we're just looking at this right through your eye, like children's eyes. You know, Gloria Estefan or Amy Grant, whatever the Christmas song is. I want to see Christmas through your eyes.
Yeah.
I want to see felonies through your eyes. How many would be relevant if you're going, okay, this guy doesn't know this person. Here's this person we end up trying to subdue. And these are the amounts of felonies or crimes or arrests that would probably lean toward me being inclined to believe that he was a threat. How many would be relevant to sort of...
Starting at 5.
I
think you got it. I mean, right?
You say 5?
You know what I mean?
I have 5 right here. What do you say?
5 is my number.
5's a lot. Like, this is the 4th time I've told you. You better not be here a 5th time.
Especially, yes, exactly.
Right? Yeah. 3 strikes usually, but
I counted to 3, but I'm going to give you the grace, the 2 grace felonies.
That's it.
The long
That's 3. A lot. That's
what
a very
if I told you
judge.
Neely, Michael Jackson himself, not himself. You
want to get AIDS?
42 arrests.
Whoa.
42
since 2013.
10 years. That's an average of 4.2.
42 arrests. And I know people will say, well, that's just because he's homeless. They make it a crime to be homeless. Bullshit. 4 of the arrests were for assault, and 1 was an active warrant for felony assault in 2021. Let me give you the New York definition of felony assault. It's serious physical injury to another person. My point is, would you immediately jump to murderer if the guy who was trying to subdue him, let's just say he has, for the sake of argument, likely no arrests, which would be in line with a lot of people who are Marines.
Right.
Let's say, though, that maybe it's 42 compared to 1 or 2. In other words, who would you be more inclined to believe was initiating some kind of incident of violence? 42 arrests. We don't know anything about this guy. We'll bet the cops know, because what probably happened is they went, all right, what happened? You took this man, this is horrible. Let me see the footage. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure. Who was it? Oh, George. Oh, 42 arrests. We still have an active warrant on him. You're free to go, sir.
After 30, and you're the judge, after 30.
Yeah.
Is there ever a conversation where it's like, you better not be here a 31st time?
Yes.
And then after 40.
Yeah.
You know, it's
like, well,
this is what you do.
Right.
After a while, it's like, it's what you do. You go out in society, you create a big enough problem for somebody to call the cops, and then you get arrested. So this is what you do all the time.
It's your thing.
It's your thing.
It's your calling card.
It's your career. It's what you're.
I'm the recurring bandit.
Right. So you clearly have something. Something is wrong.
Yes.
You know.
But what kind
of? Aside from the fact that he, the Michael Jackson whiteface is very offensive to me.
Yeah, it is as well.
But you know what I'm saying. But at the end of the day,
depends on the era.
When does the justice system go? We got to keep this guy in a hospital at the very least.
That's the thing. This guy had been in and out of shelters, right? So he understood where to go to get help if he really and truly wanted it. He actually went to a shelter that was a little bit. They had more privacy and they had a little bit more. It's a safer kind of shelter than maybe the normal one. He actually was in that. He had been street performing. I think
it became less safe once he was in it. But hold on,
maybe over 13, 15 years, people had talked to him. Like they understand. Like this guy was out there, and this guy may not have always been a problem, but at least 42 times he was.
No. But let me be the liberal here. The liberal would say, this is a man who clearly has a mental health imbalance. He's not in control of his own behavior.
Okay, if you're the liberal,
it doesn't mean I want him to die. I want him to get help and be protected from, and be in a position where he's sequestered so he doesn't disrupt society.
Okay, do you have a room at your house available?
Yes.
that would be my first question. Look, he has been to these places.
You did not commit to method acting. The answer every time from a liberal is not in my room.
Not in my room.
Should have known
I'm
better.
already
We'll work
housing
on it.
refugees.
I agree, and I 100% agree. Look, you're never going to be able to completely solve the problem, but what you cannot do is vilify somebody standing up and saying, look, not on this subway car today, not me, not the woman that you saw in the background, not any of these other passengers. I'm going to subdue this guy and wait on the cops. You cannot vilify somebody for doing that. Now, if he intentionally kills him and was yelling out racial epithets and I finally got one or something like that, fine, we can talk about that. That's different.
Which, by the way, would not be the native affectation for a New Yorker.
I feel like Gerald's been through this in his mind. I finally got one.
Finally got one,
Gerald.
In his mind, racists are like from Remember the Titans. Like they're not
He's from Tennessee, from the rural Mississippi.
I'm not going to play football with no colors. That's how he thinks racists are. You don't understand it's a little more.
What a stereotypical impression of a racist, Gerald.
No, I'm just saying, like,
some racists have been to college.
Yeah. He thinks it's, what?
New York, if you want to solve this problem, if you want a mental health crisis to be handled differently, more police officers, please. More police officers, because then the general public doesn't feel the need. It's, hey, police officer, this guy's threatening everybody.
This has happened exactly in our history. It's happened throughout the world, but it has happened exactly in the American history since the 1960s through today. And we talked about it. This is not new. And again, why do you only care about the felon committing 44, at least arrested 42 times? Why don't you care at all about, hey, what happened to, believe all women? What happened to stop Asian hate, considering those statistics? You want to guess that some of those people who were assaulted, just based on statistical realities, likely were Asian in the city of New York, but they're no longer useful pawns. What happened to stopping sexual assault against women? Hey, hold on a second. I don't know if you know this. Someone who's been arrested 42 times, including for multiple violent counts, far more likely to rape a woman than the person Lena Dunham had regretful sex with and found a condom in a potted plant. Just to be clear, you want to protect women? I don't know. Cut it off at, ooh, this guy's been violent and this guy's actually committed all kinds of crimes, including sexual, 42 times. Let's maybe find a way to protect people who deserve protecting. It's one of the few legitimate roles of government. This is one thing libertarians get so wrong. And by the way, I'm not talking about militarization of the police. One of the few legitimate roles of government is to ensure that people like this don't continue to interact with people who have not committed violent crimes. It's one of their few roles.
But you'd have to then, what I never hear from the liberal side, they never talk about homelessness being a result of drug addiction and mental illness. You never hear that.
Well,
and
they
that's
do.
What's going on?
But then they say but that's the thing. So we just need to give them drugs.
He was hungry and he had no house. Yeah. That's what they're talking about.
Right.
That's not true.
Right.
This was a guy who clearly had major mental health problems.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are plenty of housing solutions. Most people don't want to use them, just to be clear.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, put on a propeller cap and walk your way into a Ronald McDonald house. I think those are still around. The point is, they're easy to trick. Now, this happened in New York City. Let's look at this. The New York City subway. Murders between 2020 and 2022, highest in 25 years. Wow. Okay, at the same time, police resignations, those are up 117%. Response times are potentially their worst ever, just to be clear. Let's look at the recent New York City violence. Okay, do we have a montage for this? I just want to make sure. Is there a montage or the individual clips? Because we were putting this all together today. And I have a clip here that says
we have a montage.
So let me just run through the list and then let's go to a montage in case you've forgotten. Imagine you're in New York City. I want to set the stage here, okay? You're in New York City. Again, all references available at louderwithcreditor.com. Crime is at its highest in the subways, 25 years. Police resignations up 117%. Crime overall, violent crime, is skyrocketing. And of course, police response times are extended. And you don't have the right to protect yourself or carry a gun. And criminals are just basically professional recidivists. Okay. All right. So now let's go through the list. You've been living through this. You've been living through an example of Christina Yu Lee was stabbed 40 times by an aggressive, crazy man named Osama Anash. Killer was on supervised release. You have Michelle Yeoh was killed when Simon Marshall pushed her on 2 subway tracks. You have Frank James, remember the radicalized black nationalist who opened fire in a subway, which was, I think it injured something like 29
people.
And you have to take all of this into account, all of this crime, and you are living through this in New York City when this man, arrested 42 times, walks onto your subway. Do you think that maybe in the back of your mind, maybe whether you're white or black, like one of the other people, or Hispanic, like the man who was filming, do you think that maybe these images might play a role on your mental state? Kids leave the room.
Someone reported that anti-gay attack in the arm. He and his wife were also spit at on a northbound
FIA tracking a 24-year-old passenger who kicks back. Then the 40-year-old swings an umbrella at her with a keychain in hand, which police say cut the victim's face.
As the northbound N train pulled into 36th Street Station.
So you're living through that in New York City.
It makes me violent.
It makes reasonable people capable of, I wouldn't even say unreasonable things. It makes non-violent people capable of violent things. We'll talk to you. A lot of you young people who watch, most of you right, are under the age of 40, or actually most of you are under the age of 30 who watch or listen right now. You may not know about Bernie Getz. We're going to touch on that. That's relevant. This happened exactly, almost this scenario in the past. Of course, this guy didn't actually go out and shoot anybody, but Bernie Getz was assaulted on the subway. Got himself a firearm to protect, was assaulted again and shot people. Now, he went back for a second round because he had had enough, but the point is, this is the kind of culture that you breed. Of course, none of this is relevant to professional racist Al Sharpton, because if racism were to get better, he'd be out of a job. He made sure to jump in on the convo, condemning vigilantism. And this is what he wrote, or this is what he said. I don't know, I'm reading a quote from National Action Network. How many assholes can you fit in a room? Now... What most people, this is the thing, when most people in America heard about Bernie Getz, they said, I get it. And since it didn't work then, right, it didn't work then when they were trying to tell you, hey, you should all hate Bernie Getz because it was a whole soft on crime, right, liberal media. Retroactively, now they try and act as though Bernie Getz was different than it was. Kind of like, I don't know if you remember this, when Ronald Reagan died, the media was so surprised at the mourning because it didn't work when they tried to make you hate him when he was president. And then they were surprised, like, hey, look at everyone showing up. Yeah, because people liked him. Kind of the same situation with Bernie Getz. So Al Sharpton said, 30 years ago, I fought the Bernie Getz case, and we cannot end up back to a place where vigilantism, you know the word I'm trying to read, is tolerable. It wasn't acceptable then, it was, and it cannot be acceptable now. Oh, that's debatable. So, funny he brings up Bernie Getz. How many people here are familiar with Bernie Getz?
Me.
Yeah.
That's how old I am.
Yeah, it was covered.
I was in New York at the time.
He got so much support initially. So much support. Everybody's like, yep, I've been on the subway too. I get it.
Yep.
People were so fed up.
I know.
It was just story after story.
It was Bernie Getz. He was robbed twice. Okay? And then he shot 4 teenagers who then threatened him, tried to rob him again on a subway in 1984. He was convicted for possession of an illegal weapon, and he served under a year in jail. Right. Just to be clear, because you're not allowed to have a firearm, basically. That's really what it was. But this was a guy, what I would like to see a research team is bring up the injuries, the extent of Bernie Getz's injuries with the first assault that had taken place. This was a guy who ended up in the hospital. I think he couldn't walk for a significant amount of time. I believe his neck was broken. And at a certain point, he just said, hey, it's not happening to me again. And here's what's interesting. Bernie Getz, after this incident, how many other people did he shoot? You think you're getting close to 42 arrests? That's one thing that people don't talk about. There's a huge difference between someone who is a law-abiding citizen who is pushed too far versus someone who has decided that they are going to prey on law-abiding citizens until they are pushed too far. Bernie Goetz did not go on to live the life of a criminal. Bernie Goetz snapped. He Ralphied the thugs who tried to rob him again. That's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
How many more subway incidences like that? The train car, not the sandwich shop. How many more do you think have to take place for people to respond like, this wasn't a Bernie Goetz situation, but I'm telling you, you're going to get it. If you haven't already, that's where this is going. Hey, the good news is there's a solution. There's a solution, leftists. Solution is, you know what? Keep people in prison.
Yeah.
Keep people in prison if they're committing violent crimes. This is one thing that I always used to disagree with, and even libertarians like the prison industrial complex. Of course, no one should be arrested for a gram of weed. But 42? I don't give a shit if it's a privatized prison. I want them locked up.
Yep.
My problem with the violent criminal is a greater problem than that I have with the prison industrial complex. Even though I do. I have problems with both. I think our system is more broken in tolerating violent criminals preying upon nonviolent people and then condemning people when they respond with violence. And in this case, we didn't even have it. We didn't even have a man respond with proactive violence. They're going to label him a murderer anyway. And you know what's going to happen? People are going to see this, and the next time they're going to say to themselves, well, I'm going to be labeled a murderer anyway, and fan the hammer. Why do you mistrust your institutions? Why do you think? We just gave you a situation where, based on all credible evidence that we have right now, we don't know what's developing. Seems like involuntary manslaughter and certainly doesn't seem like murder. But you have the media, you have the print, you have your elected representatives already lying to try and destroy somebody's life. Why don't you trust your institutions? Well, let's just start with those, our elected representatives and our media and entertainment industry. Let's start with those, and maybe you have a reason now. Yeah, Hootie, you were about to bring something in.
Yeah, we got the injuries to Bernie Goetz after the robbery. They threw him through a plate glass door and onto the ground, permanently injuring his chest and knee. Despite his injuries, he was able to assist a police officer in arresting one of the men. There were three of them that robbed him, and they also... one of them was only charged with criminal mischief.
Mischief.
That mischievous rapscallion.
Stop throwing people through glass.
Stop positively concaving that small Jew's chest.
So naughty.
I counted to 3, but I'll give you 2 more, you know.
How long do you think they reprise the Dirty Harry series? Because I'm telling you, people in Hollywood, there's a strike right now. I guarantee there are people in Hollywood right now at the top of the food chain who are writing, who are seeing an opening. Because I remember watching Dirty Harry and those movies. Yep. I remember as a kid people clapping in the movie theater. They were like, yes, finally.
Were you here the day we did this segment on Dirty Harry? No. We did a whole segment on Dirty Harry and on Death Wish and the reason for them and the result of them and how there was a disconnect between people and the media. This is the environment right now. You're absolutely right.
Somebody's going to make some money.
Really quickly, let's go to CNN. So in the Proud Boys case, 4 of the Proud Boys have been convicted of seditious conspiracy. I think there were 6 that were on trial and 4 have been convicted.
Those are the first ones, I believe.
Yeah, seditious conspiracy.
Seditious.
Can someone give me the definition of seditious conspiracy?
I believe conspiring to overthrow the government.
Okay.
Such a big word.
Okay.
You're being seditious.
I think that's sedition.
You're guilty of not of criminal mischief, but being seditious.
Well, I know what sedition is. I'm wondering if there's a difference between sedition, actual sedition, and seditious conspiracy.
Well, you're conspiring to do sedition.
Yes. You're conspiring to do seditious things.
I don't know. Yeah, seditious conspiracy is a crime in various jurisdictions of conspiring against authority or legitimacy of the state.
Okay, so overthrowing the government.
Okay, so on a second. There. So,
being naughty.
Read it again, Hootie.
I'll bring it up. So, seditious conspiracy is a crime in various jurisdictions of conspiring against the authority or legitimacy of the state.
Conspiring against the authority or legitimacy. All right. Right now, charge me with seditious conspiracy of AOC. I question the broad's legitimacy.
Yes.
When she says this guy's a murderer, seditious conspiracy, illegitimate.
I like it.
Illegitimate. How about that? That's how broad that definition is. Think about that. Why do you mistrust your institutions? Think of how broad that is. People will act like it's Guy Fawkes, for crying out loud. It just means that you are trying to question the legitimacy or hamper the integrity, the perceived legitimacy. AOC is a liar and an illegitimate representative because she doesn't respect the laws of her constituents she claims to represent. How about that? There. Illegitimate. Seditious conspiracy. Everyone else, hey, want to sign your name on that guest list?
Yeah. I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
All right, good.
Yes.
Confirmed.
We're all seditious conspiracy theorists. By the way,
I suffer from peer pressure, so I don't know.
I know. Before the show, I got him smoking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because she said I'd be cool. I can be in the gang, right, guys?
You do look cool, though.
Called cool.
Okay,
That's the thing they never tell kids. They never tell kids
Cancer's worth it.
that smoking makes you look awesome.
Yeah, it does.
Smell terrible and die early, but you look
Hey,
awesome.
James Dean, Marlon Brando, Elvis, and Sean Penn can't all be wrong.
Yes, they can.
Did I miss anything?
You didn't miss anything.
All right.
Hopefully this stops. Hopefully there's more law and order. But hey, it's New York. What the hell are you doing there?
It's the old American story.
Get out
You
of the
push too
cities.
far.
Yeah.
The
Get out.
liberals take over.
It's
then
the American
conservatives
tail.
Come back. It's
Feifel-
the American tail.
Feifel jerks off on the subway.
Whoa! What? How did we get there?
Why am I horny all of a sudden? Oh, it's that mustache again.
It is, yes, I know. It's by the way, that's something that, just so you know, in a good year in New York,
Yeah.
someone's spanking it on you on the subway.
Well, that's. I was about to say they're like, I wish for the good old days.
Yes, exactly. Like that's best case scenario.
I swear I saw that on a subway. I swear to God, in this rugged construction worker.
You say it like you saw it once.
I mean,
I lived in New York all the time.
Well,
Why
yeah,
would you choose a crowded subway? Is that how they?
He just started.
No one has cars in New York.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you could walk. I'm saying why would you choose that place to, take care of business?
Hold on a second, Brian. Hold. This is
Not
important.
travel.
This
I
no,
I'll
Brian.
finish my
Brian.
jerk-off
I need
story.
everyone in this room to shut up for a very specific reason. This is an important learning experience for Gerald.
Okay.
Repeat the question that you just asked.
Why would you take care of business on the subway?
No, you said why would someone who is, we've accepted the premise, serial masturbate on the subway.
Yeah.
Gerald asked, why would you pick a crowded car?
Okay, here's why. We have to start with his mother. You want the cycle?
You realize as soon as the words left your mouth.
There's no why.
Right?
Because there are a lot of people on the subway, and that's the point.
No, it is the why.
Yes.
It is the why.
They like
he
the
picks
public?
the crowded.
Because it's crowded.
No, I understand. I'm just.
Yes. Yeah. A flasher doesn't do it into a cornfield, Gerald.
Yeah. I mean, you do because you're a prude.
He's too pure of heart, Gerald.
I know.
He's too pure of heart.
Just to get that Christian out of your heart, bro.
He likes the attention.
Yes.
That's almost what. Yes, that's my presupposition. That somebody who services themselves in a crowded area does so because they like it and they're perverted.
Do they bring their own potted plant?
Well, here's the thing. What do you think? Does he just think he's like, why would they do it in a crowded subway? As though that's not. Do you think it was just a guy who couldn't hold it? He's like, I hope no one sees in the corner.
I had to go. When you gotta go, guys.
Exactly.
Well, the guy, there was a construction worker who goes. He just looks at me and goes. He goes, you hit anybody with that, and this is gonna be your last day on Earth. And the guy didn't know what it meant, and he kind of went and put it back in.
Yeah.
And then I said everybody's entitled to their own expression.
I had to have all my jackets reupholstered.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
It's very, very common. My point
is a little weird, Gerald. I will agree with you on that.
Brian,
Gerald,
I appreciate that.
That's just weird.
It's a little weird.
It's odd to me.
Not to mention criminal.
Yeah. It's criminal.
I mean, riding the subway naked, okay, I don't like it, but fine.
Well, that's San Francisco. That's legal.
Yeah.
As long as you're not hard.
Here's the thing. You can use the subway.
Just telling
there
you
have
what
been
the
so many
rules are.
turnstile accidents with that. I mean, those bars. Whew.
Again,
You can
keep it
use
soft.
the subway for good. The Metro in Montreal, there's a guy who actually had 3 flutes, one in each nostril, one in his mouth. He did the entire Star Wars theme song, which is relevant because it's May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, finding that ever elusive mate. Now,
that is neat.
Did you pay him to go away?
No, the guy was great. No, he was
okay.
like the guy cleaned up. He would play I don't know if there's a video. This is long before it went viral. He would, with 2 nostrils, and then one guy would play the spoons outside of Ogilvy's. Everyone wanted to party with the guy who did the Star Wars theme song and played the spoons.
While another guy masturbated. Is that?
Well, that was
how
the supporting act.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
And that young man's name was Steven Crowder.
He was like the Joey Bishop of the subway acts.
It was weird when he tried to time it to the song, especially the crescendo.
He was just happy to be there. All right. So,
guys, let's get serious. Seriously,
let's get serious. Hopefully, this has been
New York
cathartic.
sucks.
Yes,
New
New York sucks.
There you go. That's
yeah.
All right.
Depends on where you go.
So in Florida, though, while we're talking about some wins, and we'll give you more updates if the story unfolds, I don't think that there's going to be anything new. And if there is, the media is not going to cover it.
Of course not.
They've already destroyed the man's life. Here's the thing. If everything gets corrected, as soon as that Marine, if his name comes out, his life will never be the same. Doesn't matter. The lie already traveled. Believe me.
Yeah.
We all know. It's happened a billion times in this industry.
Matter. Yeah.
So he can't speak on college campuses and go to New York and certain
He has to change
AOC's
his
borough.
name and shave
I think
the
he's going to
stash.
be nowadays. I think he's going to be fine.
Well, he'll be fine, but his life will forever be changed.
Okay.
At that point.
He can eat
The
dinner at
life
my
that-
house.
Yeah. Well, you don't have a spare room because they're filled with refugees.
That's very true.
Yeah. Well, also, by the way, you might want to keep that under wraps because I think you're engaged in human trafficking.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
but
how the
they're-
law might view it.
I know. I'm just protecting Ukrainian women. How many times do I have to tell you guys that?
Yeah, I know.
They're
You got a
vulnerable.
big heart,
Blonde
Brian.
one.
If you're
Right.
Ukrainian
Big
in your
heart.
20s and you're female, I'm your guy.
I understand where your heart is. Unfortunately, the law does not look kindly upon protecting women by locking them in.
Okay, I didn't. I have to look at the
Yeah,
details
the padlocks.
because I know
safety.
nudity laws in San Francisco, but I haven't looked up that.
Ukrainian women. You
particular
can't
law.
lock almost any women in a room against their will.
Okay.
Tag them, you'll be fine.
All right. Well, Daddy has to look into that. I mean, Brian has to
I know.
look into
I'm
that.
just saying. I want to be
Sorry.
careful because a lot of people watch. All right. So Florida's legislature, they just passed a parental rights and education bill. And now, of course, that just goes to Governor DeSantis' desk for a signature, which hopefully he'll sign, obviously. I don't know
I
why
would
he'd
think so,
veto
yeah.
it.
I mean, yeah.
That would just be hilarious.
Be a little
if he did
weird.
Just to screw with them to make a worse bill. I've been vetoed. Why? So that they can ban all trans people from the state. Oh no, a bait and switch. So the bill will prohibit. I just wanted to take a shit in a Target. Oh no. Now I'm in committee. So the bill, I'm tired, I'm sorry. The bill would prohibit lessons related to gender, sexual orientation until high school. It restricts the use of gender pronouns in classrooms. And teachers must also teach that biological gender, once referred to as gender, is unchanging. So, of course, Florida, they're furious about this, right? Here's David Andrews, the woke premier of Victoria, Australia. And this is why I usually don't care what other countries say about our country.
Right.
The premier of Victoria, Australia, slamming DeSantis.
If you want to behave like the worst elements of the Floridian Republican Party,
Penal
well,
colony.
get to Florida. Head over there, where your hateful views might be worth something. They're worth nothing here. We won't stand for this sort of ugly behaviour. It's appalling. And I again make the point, it's not about free speech. This is hate speech, plain and simple.
So right away, right? That's always what they use. They say
Invade them.
It's not free speech. It's hate speech.
Yeah, it's
Pure
amazing.
and simple.
If,
Falsters.
if you want that, all right. If you want to believe that men have things like cooks. Okay, cooks. I bet you probably think ladies. I bet you probably think ladies have.
Ladies.
Huh? I bet you probably think that. Look, if you want to be in a place where parents can force them to keep their cooks, huh? Or place without every type of venomous spider, snake, and shark, you don't know where to find it. If you want a place that isn't a penal colony that was founded by rapists and murderers who send you as punishment because everything can go, head on over to the Key West. I bet you'd like it there better, wouldn't you? You and your cooks.
That's not a cook.
Worst lawyer ever.
Worst lawyer ever.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah, people are like, can we do that?
It's like an Australian porn.
I guess we should.
Maybe we could just go to Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yes,
You
I
just
would.
said so. It's not that easy. Why? Because I know you don't do it, so I got to keep you here.
A man and a woman is not just a feeling. All right, I guess that makes sense.
Well, so the current bill that he had was K through 3, and they're just extending it to K through 8. So high school is when you can talk about them chopping off the
What? Cooks?
Yes, exactly right.
Listen.
Cooks.
Listen. If you think that a man, okay, what defines a man is cocking balls between his legs,
You're wrong.
then Australia's just not the place for you. Okay?
Yeah.
Get your sorry ass out of the outback. You go find yourself in Key West. You go
even own a
find
gun.
yourself in Fort Lauderdale. Maybe the hellscape that's Miami, right? Not here. This here's Hugh Jackman land. Sexiest man on earth.
It's a long flight. Nobody wants to go take that flight.
Tim, that was almost like an Irish. It's a long flight. It's a long flight.
Yeah.
From Ireland.
Dude, sorry, yes, on Spirit Airlines. Okay? Lose yourself a weave.
No Qantas for you.
Look like a WNBA game taking place in the sky. And head on over to, I don't know, maybe Naples. Oh, I bet you'd like Naples, wouldn't you? Where everyone there has cooks and pussies still intact. Go on over to Naples or Marco Island.
It's like the Monty Python sketch.
It really is.
Where he's like, who wants to go for a walk around the square? And like, nobody.
You're describing heaven to me. You're sending me to heaven?
What kind of dad is he? Like, hey, finish your ice cream or you don't get your pornography. I guess I'll finish my ice cream. Yeah, I want to see every bite.
That's right.
That's not my dad. Because there are people that legislature in Australia are like,
huh? Yeah. Florida?
Is he asking us to go to Florida?
All right.
Is this a request? I don't know.
Water's so blue and safe.
And I dig that about you.
So here's the thing. They act like Florida is the only place. All right, let's give you some more examples. South Korea has now refused to even allow the gay pride parade in its main business district.
Good.
They're taking action against grooming kids. There are other countries too, but they're scrapping the gender ministry. They're removing the term sexual minorities in middle and high school textbooks. They're further attempting to revise sex education. This is a quote, by the way. You can check the references. So that doesn't mention or cause sexual identity confusion. Hey, I don't know if you know this. Hungary and the EU are in court over a law meant to keep LGBTQ issues out of school. You also have that with Poland, just to be clear. Hundreds of cities, villages, there's towns that pass completely LGBT-free resolutions. I'm not saying that is what we should do, where you can, of course, you can do whatever you want as an adult. What I'm saying is they want to blame the United States and Florida for simply saying that you can't sexualize children. That's not to mention at all, that entire section of the world where it starts raining men if you speak with a lisp.
Kids are not sexual. Kids are dealing with other things. Life is complicated and hard enough. If you have kids, you know that. They're not thinking about sex. It's just not what happens until you get to a certain age.
Although I have noticed with my
force them to,
unless you force them to, and then they're kind of like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, they're not sure about. It's like the kid on Magic School Bus. He's like, no, I knew I should have stayed home today.
Yeah.
So
I knew some guys doing it in 6th grade.
Just so you know, that was a dark place that you all took it.
It was,
and then you left me on the
terrible.
I know, because I ran out of things to say, and I just left dead air, and you had to pick up on it.
You go over there.
I set a trap for you.
You go to Florida. Ride yourself on the Magic School Cook.
On the Sibian.
Maybe you can go over there with that big red Bertrand big red dog. We have normal-sized dogs here in Australia.
Giant spiders.
And they're not red. This is an Irish city, but it's not really red. It's really more of an amber. It's an amber.
An amber.
The point is, I don't know. So DeSantis, by the way, this is an example of him making good on one of his promises, which I'm happy to see.
We reject woke ideology. We fight the woke in the legislature. We fight the woke in the schools. We fight the woke in the corporations. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke goes to die.
So
his wife should be in pants. There, I said it.
Here's the thing. His wife is very pretty.
Yeah.
But here's the problem is I find she looks very different from picture to picture.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's a pretty woman in that picture. I'm like, oh, that's his wife.
Yeah.
She'll look much younger, or she'll have like a totally different hairstyle. There's no consistency. I just know there's a pretty lady in the picture.
My problem, my worry is that the right tends
is that she becomes not pretty. At some point, that happens to all of us, Brian.
Whatever. Not if you eat well, and you take the right supplements. BryanCallen.com for protein powders. She is. She looks great, but the right has to be careful not to be too calcified in traditional. We lose control of the story then. Like the left is still good at creating cool.
What are you talking about?
Well, it just looks like she's the lady and she's in a dress and she's kind of there and her man's got that tight.
She's
haircut.
a babe.
It's a little stiff and nerdy. You got to be a little bit more.
It was a formal event. He had a suit and tie on.
Whatever, dude. He should have an open shirt.
Would you like him to
chains.
come out and dance funk?
I want him in a bandana. There, I said.
All right, that's fine. As long as it's the right color.
I was going to say, as long as it's
not black,
not rainbow.
Can't be red, can't be blue. Just stay neutral.
Yeah.
And don't wear yellow because in the wrong bar, that means that you do a lot of weird stuff.
Oh,
so,
yeah, I know. Golden shower.
with all the talk of gay propaganda in school, we thought it'd be a good time.
about birds.
Top.
You don't know anything about ornithology or sex.
Hey, you don't know anything. I had a very good year. I had a good year.
Sorry.
Number 5. That's the bird term.
Hashtag bird watchers. Hashtag no black bird watchers. Sorry. Well, there are no black bird watchers. What I'm saying. When you think bird watcher, you think white person.
7+1 banned LGBT grooming books. Number 5. Of Mice Up Men. That's one that seems
okay. Okay.
I don't know why
it's a gerbil. First of all,
I know. You
got to tape its mouth.
That's the problem. Is the book is inaccurate. Yeah,
That's true. It's not a fair.
This is
well, you do because you don't want the gerbil to tell tall tales.
Richard Gere came out against it.
Although
did the audiobook.
a mouse's tail is easy to pull back out.
That's what they tell you at the local library.
That's all.
So
my
disgusting.
pet store. What did I say?
You know.
I'm just saying.
But you don't have to take my word for it. Bleeding rainbow. Hey!
Keep going.
We don't have Levi Burton around here.
Yeah.
Number. All right, number 4, Gerald.
Moby's dick.
There you go. I don't.
No, not the singer.
These are the banned grooming books, Brian.
The banned grooming. Is Don Quixote on there?
Brian, you had your chance to contribute the writing, and you slept in.
I asked a question. Asked a question.
And is sidekick in there? Is it Dirty Sanchez Panza? It's a literary joke.
It's very good.
I got it.
That's only for the educated.
That's only for the educated.
Unfortunately, most people didn't get that. They don't read.
We're never going to finish.
Absolutely. Listen, we are talking about classics and literature. That man Don Quixote was tilting cocks at windmills. It's almost what he was known for.
Of course.
He said, "You stop tilting your cock at windmills."
Tilting your cock at windmills. It's a sword.
It's fun for 3 people. Now, number 3. A farewell to cocks. You guys already heard. That's the most used word of the show today. I apologize. I'm glad I gave a warning.
Such a good word, though.
Number 2, banned LGBTQ grooming books in Florida. What is it, Brian?
The Zen of Autoerotic Asphyxiation.
And that's an instruction manual. The problem is it's in Swedish, so I never figured out how to do it.
No.
Yeah.
7+1.
How not to be found in a
I can
room
teach you
like
some
I was trying to think of something funny to add to that, but I couldn't. All right.
Number 1, The Pitcher and Catcher in the Rye, which is sad.
Right.
It's sad because it's almost like they subverted something. And of the 7+1 banned grooming books, what is it? The +1, Gerald?
Brave New World.
That doesn't make sense. It's week
At
7+1, I guess.
Was Uncle...
You forgot Stefan in the chamber.
I'm sorry, Brian. We rudely cut you off.
No, it's fine. I just asked if Uncle Tom's grabbing was on there.
You slept in, Brian.
I mean,
I think it's funny.
There's so many. No, by the way, we have
Dear Diary. They don't get me.
It's got a paywall.
It's like Tom Hanks and Brian. Someone help me! This is what happens when it's a stressful day and it's a stressful show and you have to deal with a topic that everyone is discussing and it's dishonest and you see someone's life being destroyed. Look, sometimes we have to deal with these people behind the scenes. I mean, we have conversations with these people whose lives have been absolutely shattered and destroyed, and it breaks your heart. And we don't need to do that right now. We can get off this train, especially if there's a homeless man servicing himself on it. Bryan Callen is going to be, where are you going to be this weekend?
Port Charlotte, everybody. Just, I guess, an hour outside of Fort Myers. That's in, Port Charlotte, Florida.
Yeah, let's make the plug longer than it needs to be.
Sorry, at the Visani Theater, May 5 and 6.
BryanCallen.com. And by the way, if you go to loudwithcredit.com/mugclub, you get 3 months free. Just send in your subscription to freemugclub at loudwithcredit.com. And then if you're watching on Rumble right now, you click this button right down here. You just click that one button, and it's going to be a very, very
spicy,
potentially disappointing chat Thursday, because I think we have a one-track mind, and I'm pretty sure you can guess what it is, and it's not YouTube friendly. Rumble, thank you. YouTube, piss off.
Chat.